Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Nicole and in today's video I'm going to talk to you all about how to get your baby to sleep through the night. Some people say I am extremely blessed with good sleepers, but I don't think that is the case. I think it is just basically that the steps that Kieran and I took with both children enabled us to have children that slept really well and still do to this day. Penelope is 4 and Henry is nearly 2, and I've not had any issues with the children going to sleep. So there have been times, you know, in the past where children have not been well, they're going through teething, regression stage, the early days when they were being bottle fed, they need to feed in the night. So I've had my fair share of sleepless nights, but with these tips that I'm going to share with you, hopefully this will enable you to get your children to have a good night's sleep and ultimately get you a good night's sleep as well. Instead of just rambling on, I'm going to get straight on in and share with you what my top 10 tips are for getting your baby to sleep through. My absolute number one, and this goes a lot of the time for all stages of my life, is routine. If you know me, I love a good routine, and children absolutely thrive off routine. Without a routine, children can become anxious, they can become unsociable, they can become a little bit crazy and feral without a routine, if I'm a little bit honest. And they thrive off it, they know what is happening with their day. So you can start a routine from the very beginning, and what I would say is just stick to your routine. What we do now is we have like calm down time, we will wind down, there's no rough and tumble play, there's no running around, there's no crazy behaviour, a nice bath, just chill out, read some stories, and then the children know that this is the time that they're going to be having a longer sleep. And in that sense, now even Penelope's 4, she knows that it's time to go to bed, and Henry knows it's time to go to bed. And this is something we have done right from the very beginning. So the next step, I would say, is a really important one, and it is something that a lot of people do a bit differently. I'm not going to say wrong, because no one's wrong in what they do, but it is eat, awake, sleep. What a lot of parents do, and I have done this myself, is feed the baby will doze off, and then you're thinking, oh great, they're all fast asleep, and then half an hour later they're wide awake again. And it's because, you know, they've not had a chance to burn that energy off, wiggle out, you know, the food that's inside them, filled the nappy or what have you. So what you want to do is give them the bottle, give them a good feed, and then make sure that they have awake time, play with them, you know, put them down on the floor, give them lots of attention and stimulation until they start to get sleepy, and then put them down for a sleep, and guarantee you're going to have a better sleep from your child. Obviously you wouldn't do this in the middle of the night if they was to wake up for a feed, so that leads me on to my next tip, is to know that when day is day and night is night. When babies are born, sometimes this can get flipped on the head and they will wake up a lot more in the night. So what you need to do is make sure that when they're awake during the day, there's like commotion going on, there's noise, it's daytime, it's light, it's bright, you've got the lights on if it's dark outside, you know, just so they know that that is awake time. And when it's night, we keep it dark, we keep it calm, we keep it quiet, and they will soon learn in the routine that this is when they're going to get their longer period of sleep. The next tip, which was a really important one for me, especially in those early days, is to keep a diary. So when it was in the early days and I didn't know what was going on, I kept a diary of like what time they would feed and how much or how long it took to feed, depending if it was breast or bottle. And I soon established a feeding routine, and in that I would be able to then predict when the baby needed the next feed, and I could be prepared for it. Because I was prepared, this meant to a calmer child. My children basically never ever cried as newborn babies. It was like miracle children. But I think it was because we was always so prepared. We knew exactly what time they were going to be needing a bottle, so we could be ready for them. And if they were fussy in between, we knew that it was like down to something else and not due to being hungry. Another really important tip that I would say that people were always quite shocked about that I would do is to make noise. Now my house is a noisy household anyway, so no kid is going to survive on any sleep if they don't get used to it. But babies are so used to all that noise from in the womb, the heartbeat, the water swishing around, the noises like that you would hear, they can hear that in there. So to go from that to being absolutely silent is quite scary for them and can create anxiety. if they then hear a noise, it can startle them awake. So having noise like vacuuming, I would like vacuum underneath Penelope's crib and around there when she was born. People would be like, oh my god, I can't believe you're doing that, and she's just sleeping through it. But I would do that all the time, and I do with Henry as well. And I found that that really helped. I also found that having white noise on was really good for like during the night time of settling them down. For Penelope, she had a music box that was on her crib that would play Claire de Lune, and that would just settle her straight away if that was on. And Henry had this My Hummy, which is really good because it plays different sounds, and one of the sounds is recreating a heartbeat from inside in the womb. So if you've got a newborn baby that doesn't settle, this is really good. And what I love about this is that you can control this from your phone. So if the baby's unsettled in the middle of the night, you don't even need to get up, you can just turn it on from your phone, so you can stay nice and cozy in bed and you can settle your baby without having to go in and make them more awake by disturbing them. But having white noise is really good because it just helps soothe them, makes them feel more comfortable. Another thing I absolutely swear by are the little sleeping bags, or the grow bags, or whatever you want to call them. These are what they look like, and I have used these for both children. One, midwives really recommend these for safe sleeping, and two, when I put the children in the routine, they know that that's going to be their long period of sleep, and they know that it's the night time. What is really good about these is that both of my children would flail and kick the legs about, but because of this being completely covering them, they can't kick it off like they could a normal blanket. So if my kids have a duvet or a blanket on or anything like that, they will kick it straight off. Henry still has this now. He loves to get in there. He'll just get in his sleeping bag. He knows that it's bedtime and he'll just cozy right up because he's got his sleeping bag on, and he knows it's sleep time when this is on. He doesn't even like try and get out or anything like that. So I absolutely swear by these sleep bags. They are a godsend. Another really important tip I would say is to get your baby sleepy, but put them down whilst they're still awake. One of the mistakes that I made was settling Penelope with her bottle, getting her to sleep, putting her down asleep, and then when she wakes up, she can't self-soothe and she needs me to then hold her to go to sleep, and nobody wants that, right? Who wants to be having to hold the baby to go to sleep every single time? So what I would do is get her to a point where she was kind of sleepy, put her down nice in a sleeping bag, all tucked in bed, and then just leave her by herself so she could settle herself to sleep. So that way, if she does wake up and I'm not around, she's calm, she's comfortable, and she can settle herself back to sleep. And the same with Henry as well. One of the tips I've already previously like brushed on a little bit is to make it dark. So I did mention that if you're getting it up in the middle of the night, keep the lights dim, keep it dark, don't be making it noisy and bright. That's for when you're doing night feeds, and I would say hopefully that's early on for you. And another thing I mean, like in these summer nights when the sun is blaring and children are getting used to that they go to sleep in the dark, we have blackout blinds, and we found this really useful. So what we'll do in the evening, we'll go around and I'll just close all the blinds upstairs, so upstairs is really dark and it gives the effects of that it's quite late at night, even if it is really sunny outside, because that can confuse children. I know a lot of friends of mine have struggled in these summer months where the children are not going to bed because it's still really bright out, and for me, I've not had a problem because I have the blackout blinds. And again, in the morning when the sun's coming up really early, you don't want your kids getting up early, the blackout blinds stop that problem as well. And again, I've mentioned if you do have to get up in the middle of the night, don't turn lights on, keep it dark, because as soon as you turn those lights on, the children think, oh, it's time to get up, and no one is wanting that at 3 AM, are they? So keep it dark. A good tip that I learned online when I had Penelope is that when you do a night feed, so say you're getting up in the middle of the night to give them the bottle, is to change them halfway through. So what I would do would be, because obviously when they wake up in the night, they're really unsettled, they'll probably be crying because it's the middle of the night and they've had to wake you up. Give them half of the bottle, change the nappy, and then give them the other half of the bottle. And then that way, when they're being changed, it's not startling them awake again if you're doing it at the end of the feed. Sometimes when you're changing a baby's nappy, it can startle them because it is so cold, but if you do that in the middle, maybe they'll be a bit startled, but you can then get them back sleepy again by giving them the rest of the feed, and then that way you're not startling them awake at the end of it and they can just go back down nice and settled. And my next tip would be to not give in. This is probably more for older children, and I've just gone through this with Henry. The older they get, the harder it gets. So once you give in to certain regressions or behaviours, it is harder to get out of them. So Henry has gone through the 18-month regression not too long ago, and it was brutal. 18 months, brilliant sleep, and then all of a sudden he started waking at 3 AM, and I was like, oh holy Lord, what is this ungodly hour? So I could have easily picked him up and put him in the bed with me. I could have rocked him and sang to him and given him milk in the night, because obviously he doesn't have milk in the night anymore, but I didn't. I just let him settle himself, stuck to our guns. I would go in, just stroke his face, let him know that I was there for comfort, but I wouldn't speak to him. And he managed to settle himself back down to sleep. But I could have quite easily at times, and with Penelope as well, there's been times where she's woke up in the night and said, I want to get in your bed, and I've just said, no, you're not coming in the bed, because this is not a behaviour that I want to continue going down the line. And if you start doing it as they get older, it becomes a habit, and it's harder to get out of that the older they get. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with co-sleeping whatsoever. If that's what you want to do, that is your choice. But if it is something that you absolutely don't want to do, then don't do it, because once you start, it is so difficult to stop. So I would say stick to your routine, stick to your guns, and don't give in, because these little terrors will nail us down and get us doing things that we don't want to be doing, because you know what they're like, they wrap us around their little fingers. And as much as it is easier to give in at that time, think about what you want in the long run. And if this is the same thing you want going on every single night of your life, then don't do it that one time, because as soon as you do it that one time, that's it, it is gone, and months of hard work and sleep training can go right out the window. So stick to your guns. I'm not sure how many tips I'm up to now. I was thinking there would be 10, but I'm maybe on 9. But my final tip would be to always make sure you wind your baby properly. The worst thing that you want to do is when your baby goes to sleep and you're giving them a bottle and they settle straight to sleep, is to just leave it like that, because they will wake up. I've had it at times where I've not winded them properly and they've been screaming. It's an awful scream. You can tell a wind scream a mile off because it is so painfully loud. I always make sure that you get the baby in a good position, and I've not got a tiny baby to show you this anymore because mine are like toddlers now. But I would say is to stretch the back up so they really sit forward. With Penelope it would be really good. As soon as I didn't even have to rub her back or pat her back or anything, I would just sit her up like that and she would burp, no problem. With Henry, sometimes I had to give him a bit of a rub. But always make sure that you wind your baby after they've had a feed, because otherwise they're going to be waking up with griping tummy pains and it's not nice for anyone. So there we have it. Those are my top tips for getting your baby to sleep through the night. I'm not saying that this is gospel and this is what you have to do, but these things work for me. They have been the reason both of my children have slept through from such an early age. Penelope was 3 weeks old when she could sleep through, and Henry was 6 weeks old. Using these tips and sticking to these really helped me through that. There are so many times where I could have caved and given in to certain demands, but I've just stuck to my guns, stuck to my routines and carried on doing these things, and these are what have led to having my children sleep through and being really good sleepers. So I wish you all the luck with your children if they are struggling to sleep. You know, follow these tips, see if they work for you, and if they don't, at least you've tried something different, and I hope that you managed to take something away from this video today. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos, and I will see you in the next one.